Welcome to Successfully Stressed. And today we have a very special guest because she's very close to us, Mrs. Monica Joshi. So she taught us English and was our class teacher in class 12. And so, being an army officer's wife, she's been around the country and she's an English teacher and she's been teaching for over 30 years. To the fact that, she's had students who she's gone and told that, I taught your mom or I taught your dad. So, when we want to talk about, Indian schools and our experience studying for so many years, we wanted to talk to someone who had seen that change from so many years and has taught various students who could talk about it. So, yes, Mr. Joshi, so if you want to say a few words.
Okay, thank you, Tanisha, for those, I don't know, partially deserved accolades. But yes, the fun part in teaching is, yes, as Mary Poppins says, find the fun and the job's a game. So that is what it has been for me. I have been fortunate that I have not had to work for a living. The living was taken care of by my army officer husband. Also, thanks to whom I realized that teaching was the best job, the most compatible with an army officer's wife's career, because we were of the generation who did not stay put in a station after our husbands got transferred out. We moved with them. Yes, it's been a long journey. I have taught in, by and large, the largest chunk of my teaching has been at St. Mary's. And I have taught in schools in Kolkata. But again, these have been schools that cater to the middle and upper income groups of society. Only in the army school Satwari in Jammu, there the children ranged from, since it was an army school, the students ranged from Jawan's children, soldiers' children whose mothers would largely be illiterate, to officers' children whose wives would be the only educated segment of my parent-teacher association. So it has been a long journey, but it has been a learning experience also. Assuming that my students' parents were all literate and clever, until one day a Jawan's wife came and told me कि ऐसा जो निशान होता है उससे मैं समझती हूँ कि गलत है और ऐसा निशान होता है तो मेरे को पता है कि right है. She used to tell me, she used to count the number of rights and wrongs in her child's exercise book every day. And if the number of rights exceeded the wrongs, she would make his favorite halwa. And if the number of wrongs were more, she sang, "Main iski pitai karti." But remember, please, I'm not a technical person. I'm not a politician. I'm not an influencer, except in my little, amongst my little flock who do remember me. And the intention is not to harm anyone. That should be a disclaimer. The intention is not to hurt the sentiments of anybody. We are not targeting any particular person. But since it is an exchange of ideas, and ideas can be flawed also. Ideas can be appealing. They can be flawed. You may or may not agree. But I have the right to express my opinion as you have yours.
I think starting with curriculum first, what has changed since you began teaching? Because you've taught for like 30 years now or more than that.
No, not more than around.
Okay, 30 years. That's still like a lot.
When you talk of changes in the curriculum, but I feel somehow the curriculum, at least I can only speak with regard to language curriculum, it has moved away from the classics to more contemporary, which is not a bad thing. After all, contemporary writers need their platform. But I feel that earlier, while it used to be a healthy mix of classic and modern, now we are leaving behind. The children are not exposed to, say, maybe A Tale of Two Cities. I have taught extracts from A Tale of Two Cities in classes 7 and 8. Now we don't see them at all. Charles Dickens is not seen. Maybe this is the new India. I don't know. But I feel that if a child is learning English, then he or she must be exposed to the masters of that language. You cannot, put on your Swadeshi cap and say that, Hindi Sahitya. Yes, of course, Hindi Sahitya. But in Hindi Bhasha, in Angrezi Bhasha, you have to choose the best exponents of the language that exist. The Happy Prince I have taught in class 8, Oscar Wilde's. I don't see any sign, I don't see any Oscar Wilde at all in the curriculum. I miss Dickens because Dickens is very teachable. when I was in Calcutta from 92 to 96, I have taught in the junior college there, ISC. We had great expectations as our short story. Not there anymore. The novel is gone. Tempest has become, just because, and personally, and I don't know, people will, English teachers will gasp. I personally feel that Shakespeare should be a choice and not a compulsion. Yes, high five moment. Why? Why should it not be a compulsion? Because he is writing something that the modern Indian reader cannot relate to at all. We were having a conversation, we do Tempest, we were having a conversation in the English class today, where two of the boys straight out said, Miss, I will not read Shakespeare at all. And I don't see the relevance of teaching Shakespeare. Well, I agree. I agree, because there are other easier to understand writers. Let Shakespeare be left for those who are going to specialize in English, those who, or give maybe one scene or an act or two acts, but then you cannot chop up Shakespeare like that. You cannot desiccate him in this manner, and the play it's a complete whole. So you can't have that. But I feel that this part of the curriculum, which could have been made more user-friendly. Shakespeare is not everyone's cup of tea, and here I include the teachers also. I have faced this reluctance on the part of teachers to, really engage in Shakespeare. Ms. Gupta and I are completely passionate about Shakespeare. We're as crazy about Shakespeare as the English are. And mind you, even some of the English may not be very crazy about Shakespeare now. They will not be, because he is a classic. Well, because of the lyrical nature of the content, he remains appealing. But what is the point of an appeal which cannot immediately hit the student without the teacher doing the interpreting? It's you have to, you appreciate it like, nobody can eat a cake for you and tell you what it tastes like. You have to taste it yourself. Now, if I have to say, okay, now can you taste the maida separately? Can you taste the sugar? Can you taste the almonds? Can you taste the vanilla? You'll say, shut up, it's the whole cake that I'm tasting. And I am going to taste it my way. Can I tell you first bite into the icing, scrape away the icing, whatever? No. Similarly, a piece of good literature is something that should be immediately palatable. See, why we don't need to explain to you the sitcoms? Does somebody explain to you? No. Did somebody interpret The Mentalist for you? No. Did anybody tell you what the meanings of the dialogues were in Suits or White Collar or anything that you watch? No. Because they are user-friendly enough. I have nothing against Shakespeare, one of my favorite writers, and I know almost all his plays and his sonnets. That's not the point. The point is that given the present generation of students with their quick gratification, Shakespeare becomes like watching a slow film. No, but having said that, little bit of exposure to the classics is absolutely indisputably required. But I feel that they should ease up a little on Shakespeare. Why? Because the average student finds it difficult to read and understand on his or her own. And even if the teacher has explained, there are portions of the play that the child has to learn. And the child will say, yeah, this is not even English.